Welcome, listeners, to Minalations 669, a podcast dedicated to my ADHD ramblings. If you like random topics spoken by a random person, this is your safe space. I am your host, Mina, reporting from Mothership Earth, and today we're going to do something a little different. And I think I feel like I say this every podcast episode, but we're here for a good time. We're going to dive right into time travel. And this isn't your typical time traveling podcast episode where we're going to go over, all the little theories and conspiracies out there. We're just going to get right into it. I have an unhealthy obsession over pilgrims and the Roman Empire. And I know some of you may relate to my weird niche-tism obsessions, but we will get into the Roman Empire episode later down the line because I can talk about that for eons. Today, on this wonderful Monday, we are going to talk about the Pilgrims. And you're going to be wondering, you're going to sit there wherever you are, driving to work, at home, whatever, in bed. What does this have to do with time travel? Right? Well, I want to go back in time and do crazy shit. That's what this podcast episode's about. We're all talking about, if time travel was possible, I'd do, and then the plethora of stereotypical answers like, I want to go back in time and kill Hitler, right? To prevent all the Jews from getting massacred in concentration camps, right? Not me. Okay, that sounded really bad. If I had the power, right, of course I would not want that to happen in history, but here we are. I'm not a time traveler, believe it or not. I might sound like I am from, the beginning of time, but humbly I must decline. I am just a humanoid on planet Earth. But anyways, we gotta jump. So close your eyes. Imagine ocean waves, right? Imagine the smell, the stench of BO. Half of your fucking friends and family are dead on a boat. We're gonna jump right into the 1600s. And you're probably like, what's going on here? Why are you trancing me into the 1600s on a boat where I smell rotting bodies and disease? Well, we're going to talk about the Pilgrims. And this was such a wonderful time in history. And we're going to get into that very soon. But yes, close your eyes. You're on this big boat, right? This big ship. Half of your friends and family that came to this journey with you are dead. And this was a time. This was a time to be alive, guys. We're going to talk about pilgrims. So when they settled into North America, right? We all know the story. And some of you may not know the story. Basically, the Pilgrims, right? They were English settlers that came from England and said, fuck you to the king, basically. They said, fuck you. I don't want to be under your rule, motherfucker. We're going to gather people because the mob mentality, right? We talked about this. We're going to hop on a little boat and we're going to go and find a new house, right? A new place to settle. That's pretty much what happened. Okay? They came from Europe, settled in New England, quote unquote, right? And they eventually, another important part, the Mayflower. I'm going to be talking about the Mayflower. I love the Mayflower. I wish I could get that boat tatted on my left ass cheek. It's a beautiful ship called the Mayflower. Basically in 1620, I don't know, maybe 15,000 pilgrims, these English settlers, they traveled to North America on the Mayflower, and they settled in Plymouth, Massachusetts. The thing is, right, they didn't really land in Plymouth, Massachusetts. If I remember correctly from one of my history books, I think they actually landed somewhere else. They're traveling up the Hudson River or some shit. Anyways, let's just say they landed in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and they established the Plymouth colony. Like I said, they said fuck you to the Church of England, basically. and they wanted their own freedom, and it'd be like that sometimes. So here they are, all these goody proctors, these little settlers. They came here, and half of them actually died on the way here, and I think half of them died actually when they got here. Anyways, it didn't really go to plan, because imagine during the 1600s, you're already an established country, and this is the time when you were churning butter using a fucking stick in a barrel, touching goat's titty, trying to make some butter. I don't know why, but it's the 1600s. You can't really question shit. We are here today because of them. Imagine leaving a country for religious freedoms and other freedoms, right? They just want to start their own little gang somewhere, and I get it. Imagine gathering all your friends and family on a boat, and you're like, you know what? Let's just sail and see what happens. Let's go. I believe they went westward, right? It didn't really go to plan. A lot of them died. A lot of them got diseases, which, it happens. Side note, I shouldn't really say this, but if you gather a whole bunch of people on a boat, back then they weren't that fast. You basically had God's grace with the wind to carry you, and that didn't really work out. But side note, don't gather a lot of people on boats and ships, because weird fucking shit happens. Christopher Columbus, he was fucking llamas, all right? And that's how he brought syphilis to the New World, I believe. That's how syphilis became a thing, because you get a whole bunch of old, dirty, stinking men, and you see a llama, and, its behind looks a little round, and you're like, wait a minute. I haven't seen my wife, Susie, in eons, so that llama kind of looking thick. Anyways, wow, off track. Back to the Pilgrim era. 1600s, right? 1620. We got here, boom. See, and this is when I would come. If I had a time machine, this is where I'd place myself. 1620, Plymouth, Massachusetts. And this is where the origin story of Thanksgiving comes, right? And it's all a myth. Whatever they taught you in history class in school, it's all fucking bullshit. If you want to know the real truth, it's out there. Just search what really went down. Alright? It wasn't a peaceful, it's sickening, honestly, if you think about it. We have established ourselves on blood-soaked soil, basically. But to keep things light, I would travel into time, back into time, and bring some goodies with me to introduce to, this demographic. And you're wondering, what the fuck is happening, right? Like, why would you go back in time and do this? Well, it's simple. I love to cause chaos. I love to see chaos. I would be a perfect god, really. I just love to put things in a petri dish and just see it just take the fuck off. I'd give them a proper Thanksgiving meal. The Thanksgiving meal back then, you might all, I don't know if you celebrate Thanksgiving, whatever your beliefs and your morality lies. We've all had a Thanksgiving meal. Okay, don't lie. You got your turkey up on there, cranberry sauce, mashed potatoes, corn, the cornucopia. You know the idea, right? It wasn't like that back then, okay? That was a myth too. All right? I think they were eating like venison, fish that they can catch off the shore, eating clams, random berries, squash, whatever they could find in the forest, really. So, imagine everybody's fucking stinky, BO wafting over the freaking table, and it's not even that great, honestly. Like, if I put myself there, I'm not having a great time. All right, I don't want to be invited to this cookout, really. This sounds like it's awful. And we weren't really nice to the Native Americans, unfortunately. Shocker, we are a chaotic species, especially us white folks. But anyways, I would love to give them a proper Thanksgiving meal, right? I would love to feed the Pilgrims Monster Energy drinks. Now, imagine that, right? They're probably barely drinking drinkable water, right? Like, they didn't have filtration or nothing. You know, they were drinking shit out of like a little puddle on the forest floor. You know, they didn't have straws. They were probably drinking out of, you know, rivers, ponds, whatever they can get their little lips on. You know, imagine their lips. Imagine their whole DNA changing by Monster Energy drinks. Right? The freaking euphoric power that would be coursing through their veins when that liquid hits. Right? Imagine. Because these are people that were eating tree bark and berries to survive the winter. Because I believe they got to Massachusetts during wintertime, which also killed off a plethora of people. Surprise, we're not the greatest. I mean, we're not the smartest. I don't know how we're here. But anyways, yeah, they weren't... Their food variety wasn't there. So imagine, you know, showing up with a case of Monster Energy drinks and just saying, here, let me pop it open for you. You know, open, and just let them go wild. You know, they would probably be creating their cottages and their cabins within a day, honestly. It'd be like methamphetamine at that point, because their DNA is so pure and untouched by junk that even one single can of Monster Energy drink would probably have the same effects of Adderall to one Pilgrim. That's my theory. Hot Cheetos, another great candidate. Another one. Like Takis, Hot Cheetos. God, imagine that cheesy, powdery goodness, right? They would be feral. They'd be running around the cabins on their fours. You know, it'd be so spicy. I don't even know if they'd even be able to comprehend the spice level on their tongues, because it's not developed yet for them. You know? And Pop Rocks. We all know. See, even now, after how many years has Pop Rocks been a thing? And every time you come across one and you know, open the package, sprinkle them on your tongue, it's like the next greatest thing. We're opening our mouths like turkeys in the rain, just that fucking popping noise. Dude, imagine feeding Pilgrims Pop Rocks. Alright, I know there's a lot of you guys that were like, dude, fit me in this time capsule, this time machine, because we're in for a ride. Alright, imagine giving a little Pilgrim child, Pop Rocks. And honestly, if you think about it though, this was a time also where, you know, there were very many God-fearing people. I don't know how to introduce Pop Rocks. I would say it's a talisman against Satan. And every time you eat the Pop Rocks, you have to keep your mouth open, because it wards off the devils. Yeah, that's how I'd go about it. And everybody would be standing there, and all you'd hear is maybe the ocean and just Pop Rocks in everybody's mouths. Whoever survived, of course. God, I really wish time travel could be a thing, because this is what I would do. And, you know, I'd also bring, you know, McDonald's, KFC to the new world. That's what I would bring. I'd be an entrepreneur, honestly. Because imagine feeding a Big Mac to a Goody Proctor. Here, Goody. This is a Big Mac. This is Big Mac sauce. You see that cow over there? Well, we grind it up with, you know, anything that's in the cow and some leftovers. Mash it up into a patty. This is glutinous buns. We'll get there. You'll get there later with the whole bread making process. But here you go. Big Mac sauce. Dude, I know they would be creaming right there in the spot if they had a bite of Big Mac with Big Mac sauce. KFC, you know, they had chickens running around probably, you know, they had to eat eggs or whatnot. Dude, imagine bringing KFC to the new world. Mac and cheese and mashed potatoes and gravy. Now that would be the proper Thanksgiving meal. I would literally show them what a proper succulent meal looks like. Hell, I'd even bring back a solar-powered microwave and then show them how to make popcorn. Because you'd be thinking, okay, they don't have electricity. That's not for another God knows how many years. So what do we really have? Well, that's why the solar powered comes in. And if you want to come after my throat, and if it doesn't make sense, well, that sucks for you for having such a shit imagination. My imagination, see, we bring a solar powered microwave, and then, they probably had corn. Corn has probably been established. It doesn't look like the yellow corn, but it'll work. And we're going to put it in the microwave and just watch popcorn being made. I would love to introduce that to them. Just sitting, imagine all of us just sitting around a single microwave and getting irreparable electromagnetic radiation damage, because we're all just watching this corn on the cob spinning in this microwave. They probably think it's, devil worship. It's a device of the devil, Satan himself. But, that's why the popcorn's there, because people love food. We're food-driven animals. So you're like, oh my God, that's satanic. What the freak is this black box? Right? Why is it making that humming noise? But why is it sort of also addicting to just stare into that and watch popcorn being popped? I just think about these things. Like, I would love to just come up to a John Proctor and say, this is what a Subway footlong looks like. And just describe what's in there. And just have him go at it. Subway footlong, God. And honestly, it wouldn't even just be food either. I can't bring anything back into the past because that would collapse the timelines, and there are theories about this. Do your research. I'm not here to talk about that kind of stuff, okay? I'm talking about, what if we brought sporks over, right? Just give them a spork, give them a couple sporks, let them figure it out, and maybe it would advance us in society in that timeline, right? We could be in flying cars like we've been talking about for the past, 200 years. That's the Pilgrims. I love the Pilgrims. I would have loved to be in that time era, rather, because I know I would have survived. I would love to go back in time, approach them like some messiah, really. Just imagine some random girl. She got her hair dyed red, and that's probably some sign of the devil, whatever. Tattoos, yeah, oh yeah, never mind. Honestly, they might think I'm bringing devil worship into the land, if I think about it. But besides the point. Everybody calm down. This isn't your typical podcast. Let me have my fun here. I love talking about the Pilgrims. I would love to just introduce random shit and just see them go buck wild on the field. That's all. That's really all it is. I would love to show them what Uno is. Imagine bringing board games, right? It all comes down to devil worship. If you think about it, everything I bring to them, they're going to be suspicious, right? But it's going to be revolutionary. I firmly believe if I introduce a spork to them, we could have flying cars right now. That's the correlation, A to B equals C. This is it. I love the Pilgrims. This is what it's about. Guys, you don't understand. I just got off at work at 10 p.m. and all I've been thinking about is talking about Pilgrims and what I would love to feed Pilgrims. Does that make me a weird person? Am I a feeder? No, I'm not. I'm an entrepreneur. I would love to be their messiah. I'd like to just go back and show them, like I said, what a proper meal looks like, what real food looks like. Because whatever they're eating out there, they're starving, they're dying, it's cold. They don't gotta live like that. I want to give them a gift. The gift of Monster Energy drinks, hot Cheeto, Pop Rocks, There's so many other foods out there, I mean, that are questionable as they are, right? Imagine bringing a pilgrim. Okay, so I just had this thought. I guess, like, the Amish are sort of like pilgrims, right? Imagine showing an Amish person all these technologies. I mean, at this point, at this timeline, rather, 2025, they probably know all this. But the closest thing I can think about, a pilgrim is the Amish person. An Amish person is the pilgrim. I don't know why my mind is going there. You know, this is how this podcast is going to go. Just buckle up, get ready for some random ADHD ramblings. I have so many random shit to talk about, pilgrims being one of them. God bless the Mayflower. I would love to see it. I don't even know if it still exists. I mean, it probably is in the bottom of the ocean. But if some museum curated it and made a replica, I'd love to get a miniature version for my, glass display case. So whenever my so many friends come over daily to the apartment, they can see my Mayflower in my glass display case. And then I could talk about that. Anyways. Oh my god, this is already so chaotic. I'm really excited for this podcast, guys. Pilgrims aside, going back into time and space, and doing crazy shit aside, this podcast, it's already making me so happy. Just rambling because, the problem is I bottle everything because no one wants to listen to crazy people talk, and I get it. Would you go up to a random crackhead and just spark up a conversation? No, you wouldn't. But, you're forced here, in this chaos. And we're going to be here for a great time. Pilgrims, if you have any food suggestions, please let me know. I also created a Patreon for Minalations 669. It is not mandatory. You can get all your episodes on Spotify and Apple, and I believe Pandora and iHeartRadio. The thing with podcasting is you gotta copy your RSS feed link into all these things. It's more complicated than you think, right? Anyways, I created a Patreon. It's I don't expect it at all. It's just something there. If you'd like to support me, support what I do, because I'm just gathering money to fund my time machine now. That's basically what it is. I would like to, gather maybe $15. I feel like that would get me pretty far into creating this time machine. And then I would take my, iPhone, my Android, whatever you got. I would take my smartphone and take a whole bunch of selfies and then mail them by letter to the King of England and say, suck it, because we're having a great time here, and you can be all the way over there eating your baked beans and your whatever the hell you eat, eel, all right, and you're gonna suck it, because we're Americans now. The Pilgrims, we are Americans, purebred Americans. Yeah, we might have originated from England, blah 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 blah. It doesn't matter. All right, eagle noises, cue, boom. We are proud Americans. Don't believe everything you read in the textbooks. Don't question everything. You'd be surprised to learn some things about the Mayflower and the Pilgrims that you thought were, biblically accurate, but they're really not. It's a whole bunch of horseshit. It's just trying to make us look good, but now we killed a whole bunch of people, Native Americans. We took over their land. I just want to show them a succulent meal, guys. Honestly. Unity, guys. Hate aside. Bring everybody together. Show them what Pop Rocks are. Maybe some Jell-O. Just wiggle it in front of their face. They might get horny. This might actually collapse the timeline. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing with, timelines. One little mistake, one little nick in the timeline, and then everything it can go to shit, right? You introduce Jello, and then boom, we could all be sex addicts. I mean, we are, because, we failed as a society already. But imagine the good that it could bring, like a spork. That's revolutionary. You can scoop things and drink it out of your spoon and poke and stab things with the little prongs. I'm just saying. Listen, don't come after me. I'm the messenger. Don't come after me. I'm just saying it wouldn't collapse the timeline. It would further advance us, I believe. And on that note of advancements, we're advancing to the end of the episode. This was definitely a random thought that just blossomed into, I think, almost 2 years of me festering these ideas of what I would feed, what I would do during the 1600s, during the Pilgrim era, right? I mean, who knows? I could be their messiah. I could, society could be better right now, honestly. But alas, they ate their frickin' fish and clams and their berries and tree bark, drinking water out of puddles, and that's why we're here today, brain dead, one brain cell. I'm just saying. Anyways, if you made it to this part of the podcast, God bless you. You can be part of my colony, the Minalation colony, and we're cooler because we are time travelers, and we would go back in time and feed settlers random food. I even thought about going back in time to like Neanderthal times, but I really can't fuck with that timeline because they had to find fire by themselves, and that's why we have Tesla, right? Because that's the obvious correlation. Ooga booga, man finds fire, boom, here we are. We got, self-driving cars. So that's pretty cool. So I won't fuck with the Neanderthals, but the Pilgrims, I feel like we could be best buddies. It would be crazy. And you know what else would be crazy? If you can support this channel, this podcast, by giving it a little follow. You could also email me at Minalations669. No, I'm crazy. Holy shit. Rewind. Wow. I'm Mina from the future. If you heard that, ignore her. The real email is minalations@gmail.com. Any comments, questions, concerns, I'll take them all. If you have topics you'd like me to talk about, or you're not knowledgeable about, or if you want a random person's take on certain topics, I am that person for you. I have a very imaginative brain, not to toot my horn, but autism sort of does that. And I believe my sister... Why did I even think that? I don't even have a twin. See, this is weird. Did I change something in the timeline? Anyways, I hope you all had a wonderful week, by the way, last week. It is Monday. It is a new week. God bless. It is almost March. Can you believe that? What happened? We gotta take care of our timeline currently. Talking about all this time travel. Currently, you right now, give yourself a big slap on the back, a pat on the back. You guys did it. We made it here. We made it to another Monday. Honestly, it's Manic Monday because I feel like the podcasts are going to get progressively worse because I would love to talk about the Roman Empire, but that could be like a 3-hour episode, and I don't know if I've trained your ears thus far for that kind of topic. But we're keeping it light and easy, right? Minalations, we're here for a good time, a wonderful time, full of laughter, confusion, and chaos. That was today's episode. I would just go back in time and do crazy shit. I mean, who wouldn't? Realistically, I know we've all thought about it. I don't want to do the stereotypical shit. I just want to feed people food. And like I said, that sounds really weird. But it's just, I don't know what's wrong with me. I just want to see chaos unfold, and it would be so entertaining. I'm an instigator. That's what that is. That's the word, instigator. Any social situation, I want to keep pressing you to say more shit. And we'll talk about that later on the next episode of Minalations 669. Everybody, thank you so much. That is it for today's episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in onto some chaos. See you all next week for another episode of Minalations. Godspeed, everybody, and don't forget to eat some cranberry sauce. Nah, actually, fuck that. That shit's nasty. If you eat cranberry sauce, get the fuck out of here. Peace.